You know what's crazy to me? I was just talking to...
So go watch her video. She talks about how her job is trying to set her up to work from home for 1 day a week, but she doesn't have a home. I take it she lives in her car. And this is very important to understand, and I'm going to elaborate on this a little bit, but whether you don't want to work from home or not, maybe some people don't, it should still be an option, whether you want to work from home or not, or whether you want to work in the office. And I'm going to sidestep here for just a second. I'll loop back to what she was talking about. But when I was working at places and COVID was ongoing, the excuse given was like, well, a lot of people like the office, so we think it's more important for people to be in the office for collaboration, which many people have talked about that. The collaboration excuse is crap. It doesn't mean anything. They just want to have control over is what they want. So looping back to what she said, though, no person who is working a full-time job should be in a position where they cannot afford to live anywhere. And we're past the point of just move someplace else. Everything is too expensive. At this point, I fear that any children who will be adults are not going to be able to live on their own. They're going to have 4 to 5 roommates to be able to afford a place to live. You're going to see single-family homes turned into dormitory-style buildings because not one person will be able to afford to live any place. Not with rents being $2,000 plus per month and minimum wage being well under that. It's not going to happen. I've already been around people who have decided that's the best way of living, that they're just going to bunk in with a bunch of people because they can't afford to do it on themselves, and it's just all around cheaper to save money. That is not how it's supposed to be. People need their own space and more than just a room. You should be able to have a home, someplace that's comfortable. It's just wrong. Now, beyond that, even let's say you have a place to live. Small things become a problem with your employer. I'm going to give you an example here of something, and you're going to say it sounds extreme probably. Some of you will, okay? I was working a full-time job. Shift started at 8. They really expected to be there at 7, but shift started about 8. I never showed up at 7. I don't care what the employer thinks. If you tell me my shift starts at 8, I'm coming in few minutes before 8, and I'll clock in and start. But I'm not going to show up at 7 so you can work me for an hour off the clock. I stopped doing that a long time ago. And if people are still doing that, you need to stop. Stop this madness. Anyway, the alternator in my car went out. I've had my car for a very long time. It's one of those things that happens. Alternator went out. Batteries go out too. And I think in this case it was alternator and battery. So I had to call in to get that worked on. I can't do it myself. I don't have the time. I have the tools, but I don't have the time, and I needed to get it done. And so there's a chain shop near me, one of the bigger brands. They can do usually same day turnaround. So didn't think it'd be a problem. So I was going to use a sick day to do that, but my employer's like, well, can't you just come anyway? How about I come pick you up? No, I don't want my boss picking me up. That's another thing people need to stop doing. Don't let your boss pick you up. I don't want them anywhere near my house. But they threw a fit about it because I was like, well, I need a day. I'm sorry. This is kind of an emergency. Well, don't you have another car? What about your girlfriend? No, she's at work and she can't stop work. 2 people being out of work to handle a problem one person can handle is not an issue. Also, I will preface this. I could work remotely. It wasn't like I couldn't work remotely. They threw a fit. My boss was like, well, this is unacceptable. You need to be here. I was like, no, why do I need to be here? Well, you have to be out to go in the field. No, I don't. Have one of their employees do it. I can't. My vehicle's not working right now. So basically, the other problem is I couldn't just show up in between. I needed to be ready when my car was ready because the shop closes at 5. So it wasn't like I could go there and just get it after work. I worked miles away from where the shop was and where my house was. And with schedules for my girlfriend and I, it wasn't going to work. But they swore up and down I should just sacrifice that to go. And it was like, no, I refused. They didn't fire me. They didn't like it. But that started more of a trend of them not liking me because I wasn't willing to just bend over backwards for them. So little things like that. Sorry for such a long story, guys. The problem with that, is that they expect you to just drop everything because you're not an employee for them. No, they own you. And that's got to stop. And to the point of it, you don't even have to be without a home to have a problem. Just having vehicle problems can put you in such a bad position. They could have fired me for that. In Colorado, it's at-will employment state. They can fire you for any reason and really don't have to say much. Or in the case of what happened to me, they can lie about why they're firing you and just get ready because they don't want to deal with the problems. But no, it's not fair. If you're working a full-time job, that should be more than enough for one person to afford a place to live. I'm not saying one person should be able to afford a 3-4 bedroom house on rent or own, but they should be able to at least rent or own a 1 to 2 bedroom home. And that's not the case anymore. No person should be stuck under a landlord. They should have the option to buy. Or if they're going to have to rent, it shouldn't be so expensive they can't do other things. So this is ridiculous, and we need to do something about it.